What up, everybody? Here we go. We are breaking down the best defensive backs in the NFL draft. We're talking 5 of the top cornerbacks, and we're talking 5 of the top safeties. We're going to talk about them for NFL purposes and for fantasy purposes, because that's why we're all here. Cooper DeJean. Okay, so I've been hearing about this guy. He could potentially be the first white cornerback drafted in the first round of the NFL. He's the top-rated guy right now on most big boards. He's from Iowa, 4.5 40. For the cornerbacks, that's slow. For the cornerbacks, the top end speed, not necessarily there as far as like the 40 goes. 6'1", he has the height, 94 percentile on the weight, 207, overall rating of 89.3. Pretty much on all of his metrics as far as tackling, run defense, coverage, zone, man press, everything in the 80s there. That's a B, though. That's a B. How come he doesn't have any metrics that are running in the A's here? But projected as a mid-round first. Maybe this is just a weak year for the cornerbacks. That's what you need to be one of these corners that just hangs around forever. You need the super top end speed. So let's see the difference between like his 40 time and some of these other guys. He took a big step back in 2023 compared to 2022. Scored 3 TDs in the second year. I wonder if he got hurt. Nate Wiggins from Clemson. Man, another guy, so a height guy. You look just very slow as far as like cornerbacks are concerned. 4.55 in the 29th percentile, tall and lanky, 88.8 out of 100. His tackling and run defense, that was the thing for Cooper DeJean, and projected as a mid-first rounder, just like this dude is. You look here, his coverage, zone, man press, those are in the 80s. The tackling and the run defense in the 60s. He's just a smaller guy. Buck 85. I can understand why he's not a beast in the run game. But he said the player comp is Joey Porter Jr. Okay. Let's go look at the stats. Year 1 doesn't even really play. Year 2, 26 solos, an INT, and for a 98-yard INT for a tug. Even being not the fastest, 4.55 is still pretty fast. In 2023, 22 solos, 2 forced fumbles, a sack, 2 INTs, and he housed one of those. Kool-Aid, his role, outside man, press corner, out of Alabama. So the 40 of 4.55 also, so not the fastest. A little bit more meat on his bones than the last guy. Also 6'1", 88.4 out of 100. You look at him, though, all these numbers are based on like ESPN scouts, this 24/7 sports, the rivals.com. And so all these numbers are based off of that. And his tackling 88%, run defense 91%, coverage and zone. He's all 90s across the boards. A lot of these metrics that these guys are targeting, Kool-Aid right off the bat, even though he's being projected as the 3rd cornerback. Off of this, I think it's because of the overall rating is why he might be projected the 3rd. All of these guys have been projected for mid-first rounders. It's all going to depend on where these guys go. Kool-Aid stats here. Year 1, 9 solos, had a sack and an INT. Yeah, a big jump from year 1 to year 2. 29 solos, kept the sack, kept the INT. 2023, 24 solos, but no sacks, no INTs or anything. Let's get to Terrion Arnold, also out of Alabama. Now you see here, a little bit heavier than those other guys, 64th percentile, a little bit faster than these other guys as well. Very similar, inch or 2 different, but it's still in the 63rd percentile there. 88.3 out of 100 on the overall rating, according to ESPN, 24/7 Sports, and Rivals.com. All these numbers mixed together. The run defense, that's one of his better categories, but still solid in coverage as well. Projected as a mid-first rounder. Let's see what his stats were. Only 2. I wonder if he redshirted or got hurt or like something right off the bat. 34 solos, had the INT, but oh man, Pick City in 2023. 5 INTs, had a sack and a forced fumble, and 40 solos. Whew. Oh man, what a savage. And outside zone cornerback is what they got his role listed as there. Pretty solid, pretty solid. So last guy here for the cornerbacks that we're going to cover, Kamari Lassiter, 6 foot, Damn, 180. The eighth percentile, not 80th, eighth percentile. 40 455. It's crazy because you look at 458. You look at the 455 to the 458, and it drops him so far. And still, it's not even that much of a difference either. That's what's crazy. So I don't even know how much weight I'd be putting into that. And then we still got to watch for the combine and see what they actually run at the combine. 87.5 is the overall rating. I guess if he had any weaknesses, it'd be run defense, projected as a mid first rounder. 36 games, 1,500 snaps. Let's see, year one INT, 9 solo. No INTs after that, but a lot of tackles and mixed in a sack as well. 30 in 2022, and then 2021, or in 2023, he had 21 solos and a sack as well. Tackling machine, man. Tackling machine. Got that tackling fuel. All right. All right, those were the top 5 cornerbacks in the draft. Now we're going to jump into the top 5 safeties in the draft. These are the guys who are probably going to be more fantasy viable over time. And starting off with Tyler Nubin, zone slot, nickel safety. Okay, 4'6", 40, 6'2", 210. Okay, so I guess, is this one of those guys who's a bruiser when it comes to smacking out there? 87.3 overall rating. So the coverage, that looks like his best metric. He being projected late first rounder. Usually safeties are not drafted in the first round. Guys like Brian Branch were. In the overall DBs, he's ranked number 6, but in the safety category, ranked number 1. And it's only guys like Brian Branch, I mean, of recent, who we can think of who are drafted like super high. Mostly safeties are drafted in like the second round. Okay, he's one of the guys who played through COVID and got that extra year of eligibility because it looks like as a freshman, didn't really do much. 30 solos, a forced fumble, INT as a sophomore. And then we'll just call it as his other sophomore year. 35 solos, a sack, 3 INTs that year. And every year he just kept stepping it up. 37 solos, 4 INTs. And then in 2023, 34 solos, forced fumble, sack, and 5 INTs. There we go. Coming over to Cameron Kitchens out of the U. Man zone slot, nickel safety, 4'4", 540. 86th percentile, so really fast. 206. Guess a little undersized for some of these safeties. 5'11", a little undersized there as well. 86.9. 69 out of 100 rating. Looks like just even across the board except for his tackling. He's a little undersized compared to some of the other guys here. Top rated or projected to be drafted in the top 10 in the second round. 34 games, almost 1,900 snaps. Let's see what the stats look like out of the U. He stepped on the field playing a lot right away. Had 25 solos and a forced fumble as a freshman. 34 solos and 6 INTs as a sophomore. One of those for a TD. He had 40 solos, a sack, and 5 INTs. One of those went back for a TD as well. So just ball hawking out there, just a coverage guy. That's probably why he's projected to be drafted in the top 10 of the second round. Kalen Bullock out of USC. All right. And Johnny said, I like to see that stat progression each year. For sure. I want to see him getting better, or at least matching what they're doing along the way. So for Kalen Bullock, man zone, slot, nickel safety, real similar. These guys are real hot this year, these nickel safety guys, because Tino was saying earlier, we've got a lot of hybrids out there now. Running a 4.55 at the 40, 6'3", big boy, undersized in the weight though, only 190. Might have to put on some LBs in the weight room. That could be something that a lot of these guys have to do. Let's see here. So the run defense, he's not really a guy who they're going to put in run D, but tackling 80%, so pretty solid. Coverage 91% looks like his best metric out of all this. And then the zone and man, very similar, really good at both. Projected mid second rounder, 37 games, over 2,100 snaps, so a lot of playing time at USC. 25 solos as a frosh and 2 INTs. 29 solos and 5 INTs as a sophomore. One of those went back for an INT. 42 solos and 2 INTs. One of them went back for a touchdown there as well. The regression and interceptions, maybe he was just getting thrown at a little bit less. 42 solos, I don't know how he was getting thrown at less. Maybe it was in the run game, but that wasn't one of his strengths. So I'm assuming a lot of those were in the pass game. Kalen Bullock out of USC. Javon Bullard out of Georgia. Looks like we got back-to-back Georgia safeties in the top 5 here. Zone free safety. He's the first free safety that we're actually seeing here. Everyone else was like the nickel safety, so those are the guys coming up like in coverage more often than not. A 4.50 for the 40, really solid. Maybe a little undersized in the height, 5'10", a little undersized in the weight, 197. 85.4 out of 100 on the overall rating. Looks like coverage, and then the man coverage and press coverage, that looks like his shit. Tackling looks solid. Zone looks solid. Even run defense, 75%. It's probably about average right there for a lot of these guys. Projected as a late second rounder. A guy like this would be very interesting to see where he goes. Tyke Smith, the other Georgia safety here. Man zone free safety. Okay. Running a 4.50 40. Another guy a little bit undersized here as far as the height goes, 5'9", but 206 though. So he's got a little meat on his bones compared to some of the other ones that we saw. Still 48th percentile, so still needs to hit the weight room though. Let's see. No metrics in the 90s here, but it looks like coverage. Man and press coverage looks like that's his jam. Zone coverage still super solid though. And then run defense 78 and tackling 74%. So it looks like the tackling might be his weakest metric. There's not a lot of like decent safeties that ever come out in a draft for like fantasy. Usually it takes a little bit before we actually see these guys getting in there. What's WVU? West Virginia. Look at the Frosh. 36 solos, 1 forced fumble, 1 sack, 2 INTs, brought one of them back for a tug. And then 33 solos the next year after that, 2 INTs, and then transfers to Georgia. And it's because it got the extra year of eligibility from 2020. It's like that never happened, and put up good stats in those years. And it was enough to hit the transfer portal. Wasn't good enough to start, though, at Georgia right away because you see only 4 solos, 1 forced fumble. And then second year, though, he had to be a starter. 22 solos, 1 forced fumble, 2 sacks as well. So getting in the mix. And then this one, look at the progression over this. This might be one of the cooler stories that we've seen, and we're just diagnosing it like through the stats. And that's it. But 46 solos, 2 sacks, 4 INTs, and it's for Georgia. Like they got one of the best defenses like around. Yeah, Tyke Smith. Let's see where he actually ends up going, projected as a 3rd rounder. It really all depends on where he goes. And Marty said, stock rising, stock rising. There you have it. Those are the top defensive backs in the league. Top 5 cornerbacks, top 5 safeties. We're going to be covering linebackers tomorrow, and we're going to be covering offensive players next week. Everyone on YouTube, make sure you hit that next video. Go check it out and support. Hit the like. Peace out.